Question, you may, yes.
They can hear me on Zoom, right? Okay. Good evening and welcome to the February 23rd council meeting. Members of the public will provide the following methods to watch and or participate in this open meeting. Attend in person at the North Dumfries Community Complex. Attend electronically via Zoom to observe the meeting or to speak to an item on the agenda. Watch the live stream by accessing the meeting on the Township's YouTube page. Submit written comments to the clerk's division that will provide to council members and will form part of the public record. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank everyone for joining us this evening. We appreciate your participation. As we come together to serve the community, I ask that we create a welcoming, positive environment for everyone that includes respect, that we listen to each other with care, speak thoughtfully, and engage kindly with one another. Kindness, that we treat everyone, council, staff, and the public with respect and understanding and inclusion, that we embrace diverse perspectives and respect each other's opinions. Together, we can make this meeting place one where respect, kindness, and inclusion are at the heart of everything we do. Behavior that is disrespectful, disruptive, aggressive, or intimidating will result in those individuals being asked to leave. I'd now like to call the meeting to order and to have approval of the agenda. Councilor Tilley.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Bowman, that council adopt the February 23rd, 2026 council meeting agenda as presented with the following addendum and addendum. 1, rearrange the agenda to move closed session up to the agenda to be item 6 and renumber the other agenda items accordingly. 2, add a correspondence received for item 14.2.1, report number BLE 01-2026, firearms discharge bylaw update.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now I'd like to do the ubiquitous acknowledgement. We acknowledge the land on which we gather today as the traditional territory of Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Mutual people. We acknowledge the enduring presence with which we share this, presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements and their contributions to our community. We offer this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples of Canada. And as we reflect, we will think about our relationship and as Canadians, our pride in being inclusive and caring about one another and respect. I was always taught that Canadians give respect first, and you have to use it. Let's hope we don't lose that respect. Let's pause to reflect. Thank you. Is there any disclosure community to the up? Seeing none. Number 6, closed session. 6.1 CL report number 3-2026. In the presentation discussion with consultants from Pace and Associates, pay equity and wage compensation review for non-union personnel, labor relations of the employees negotiation, municipal act section 239. Can I have a motion, please, Councilor Osner?
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Wells, that council move into closed meeting session at 6:03 p.m. pursuant to the Municipal Act, section 239(2) to discuss closed session report number CAO 03-2026 and presentation discussion with consultant from Pesk and Associates, pay equity and wage compensation review for non-union personnel, labor relations, or employee negotiating Municipal Act, section 239(2)D.
All those in favor? Yeah, thank you. Reconvening of the closed council, Williams, will you, motion please?
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Tilly, that council reconvene into open session at 7:00 p.m.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. All report coming on forward, review of the CEO's report number 03/2026 in combination with the presentation from Karen Hall, Senior Associate and Place. So, policies was conducted. The report and presentation are associated with the ongoing work program in support of pay equity wage compensation study being completed for the non-union personnel of the township. No decisions were made in closed session. Work on this project continues. A further report and presentation on pay equity wage compensation study will be undertaken to support a future decision of council on this matter. Did everybody hear me okay? No, I'll use the mic. My apology. I'll do it again. Okay? Or actually, can you hand it to me so she can have it? Thank you. So we'll need to use that mic so that I will hear us because she'll put it in. Okay, so
Most of it.
following post, can I get the adoption of the minutes, please, Councilor Coleman?
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Tilly, that council approve the following meeting minutes, 9.1, council public meeting minutes dated January 26, 2026, 9.2, special council meeting minutes dated February 2nd, 2026, and 9.3, council meeting minutes dated February 9th, 2026.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Next is introduction and recognition of Felix Tice, Director of Leisure and Community Services, CEO McNally, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor Fox and members of council, I'm pleased to take this opportunity to introduce and recognize Kelly Stice, the Township's new Director of Leisure and Community Services. Kelly commenced her employment with the Township on Wednesday, February the 18th, and today represents her first council meeting. For introductions to the community and our various organizations and user groups in the recreation and leisure portfolio, Kelly was selected for the director position because she has over 25 years of progressive experience involved in a varied career working with people. For approximately 22 years, Kelly worked for the city of Kitchener in several roles, including inclusion coordinator, and for 14 years as the supervisor of community centers. Since 2024, Kelly has worked as the director of recreation, facilities, and children's services in the Township of North Huron. With her wealth of experience, leadership skills, and community engagement practices, Kelly Stice will lead the Leisure and Community Services Department and will oversee the important public-facing portfolios of parks and facilities and community programming and engagement. Kelly will bring renewed energy and focus to the Leisure and Community Services portfolio. Her experience and community-focused approach will build upon the foundation of the department already in place and assist both council and senior management team as we continue to grow our footprint in the leisure and recreation areas. Madam Mayor, members of council, please join me in welcoming Kelly Stice to the Township.
Councilor Tilly, the motion, please.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Oster, that the presentation and
Turn the
introduction.
mic on, Councilor Tilly, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Oster, that the presentation and introduction of Kelly Stice, Director of Leisure and Community Service, be received with congratulations.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Welcome, Kelly. So, delegations done. Any questions, items we consent agenda? Seeing none, can I have the motion, please, Councilor Austin?
Move on myself, second by Councilor Williams, that the following information items which listed on the February 23rd, 2026 consent agenda be received. 13.21 communications correspondence. A, resolution received from the Township of Brunel, Linddock, and Raglan regarding support for the steel and lumber sectors. B, resolution received from the town of Whitby regarding removal of the GST HST from all new homes purchased as primary residence in Ontario. C, resolution received from the town of Perry Sound regarding municipal support for school bus safety and stop arm camera systems. D, resolution received from City of Waterloo regarding legislative changes to the OMERS Act and Bill 68. And E, resolution received from the municipality of Magnetawan regarding affordable access to fiber internet.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. And, item for discussion, the firearms, report number 14-.2.1, report number BLE 01, 2026 firearms discharge bylaw update. Questions from the public? Questions from council? Council, Williams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is through you to staff. I was just curious if you had any reasoning why the other townships were not also making use of this dispatch program?
We're on the firearms.
Oh, sorry. What part? No.
So, no questions on the firearms? Can I have the motion, please, Councilor Rose?
The wrong one.
Answer the question.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Holman, that BLE report number 01-2025 be received. Now staff be authorized to initiate a public consultation engagement process to solicit input from interested members of the community. And that staff return to the April 27, 2026 meeting with a follow-up report.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Justin, you're forewarned. For 14.2.2, reporting on the BLE 02-2026 bylaw enforcement dispatch contract, Waterloo Regional Police Services. And Councilor Williams, you're up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to staff, I was just wondering why the other municipalities were not also joining in on this program.
I'm gonna defer. I wasn't part of the initial.
So, Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Wilms, Waterloo Region Police Service back in 2024 approached all of the area municipalities, including our counterparts at Wilmot, Wellesley, and Woolwich. And at that point in time, at a staff level, they indicated that they did not see at this point in time merits in joining a centralized dispatch service for their bylaw enforcement personnel. Specific to Wellesley, they have a fairly limited role for bylaw enforcement. And so the comment was, given the limited number of hours that they're actually deployed, it didn't make sense for them. The agreement, as currently framed, does allow future participation by those area municipalities. And conceivably, it could be something that could be extended outside the boundaries of Waterloo Region. There are mechanisms that allow that to occur if the appropriate terms can be accepted and negotiated.
So, McNally, I know that Wilmot only has daytime bylaw. It's out 5 days a week or 4 days a week. So they don't have evenings or weekends like we do, which are your majority of calls. What about Woolwich? Woolwich, do they have
So, Madam Mayor, I'm not familiar with how they staff or rotate their bylaw enforcement personnel. I know in both Woolwich and Wilmot, they do have at least 2 dedicated staff individuals for bylaw. The reality is, whether it's during the daytime hour, evening, weekends, or the overnight, there is always a risk for bylaw enforcement personnel attending a property. And so regardless of the hour of the day of the week, this provides, in our case, specific to North Dumfries, an ability for a bylaw enforcement officer to be monitored by a dedicated dispatch service. If we're going to a property and it's already been flagged in the database, we have this similar arrangement with our fire personnel. If there's a problem property, bylaw dispatcher will now flag that to our staff and basically provide whatever the advisory is. And there would then be a discussion whether or not we would stage and wait for WRPS personnel, and both police service, in addition to our bylaw personnel, would then attend the property. That is certainly the protocol we have for fire and fire dispatch, and a similar protocol would occur. The other thing is, if our bylaw enforcement officer is going to attend 123 Ontario Street, they would actually book that they're going to do a site visit at 123 Ontario Street. Bylaw can now be monitored by the dispatcher. So it could be like a 10-minute call. So after 10 minutes elapses, the dispatcher could actually, on the radio, communicate to the bylaw enforcement officer asking if everything is okay. And obviously, if there's not a response or the terminology is not consistent with expectations, then that triggers an internal page, and police personnel can now be dispatched. So for us, largely, it's a health and safety issue because we do not double up our personnel, and they are often working remote, and in some cases at distant properties outside the view of the traveling public. And as such, it just provides an added dimension of protection for our personnel. The other aspect is interoperability. Depending upon the nature of the call or the incident, we now have the ability to coordinate, and directly the officer on patrol could coordinate with our bylaw enforcement personnel and be able to have communication around dispatch through the P25 radio system. So in a lot of different respects, it has the ability to adapt to our service and service levels. And the technology that we're utilizing is scalable. So as calls for service increase, as perhaps our roster increases over time or our hours grow, the coverage grows with it, and the flexibility through dispatch services. This is a dedicated bylaw enforcement dispatch personnel. It's trained specifically for bylaw enforcement and would be available to the participating municipalities. So in the initial year, it is 3 cities as well as the Township of North Dumfries, if Township Council were to move forward as recommended by staff.
Any other questions? Councilor Williams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had just one more question for clarification through you to staff. And that's just with regards to, is this assuming people will be calling this number? Because I think right now we allow people to also email bylaw directly. So I was just wondering how we were going to handle that, or if there was going to be some connectivity as well from if people call into the North Dumfries office, like how does that work? Thank you.
So Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Wilms, we are proposing to maintain our status quo in terms of how our residents are able to communicate with our staff. So they can call into the township office, obviously during business hours, it's duly logged and then made available to bylaw enforcement. If they're not on shift, then it would go into the basket, the digital basket, to be accessed when the bylaw officer comes on shift. We have the fillable PDF forms. And once again, when those come in, they go to the bylaw email account, and they're monitored by staff, bylaw staff, when they're on shift during the period of their shift. In the event that someone does call WRPS through the back line, then once again, if they know that we're already on shift and our officers are required to, under the protocol, book on and off the beginning and close out of their shift, they happen to be on shift, then bylaw would be dispatched by WRPS. If they happen to be off call, in other words, we don't have anybody on shift, WRPS would issue a occurrence report, take in all the particulars, and it would be sent to our bylaw email account. And once we're back on shift, then it's accessed by staff. So we have multiple venues. We are not proposing to remove our existing communication channels. There's been a lot of effort put into how our residents can be access our services, and we don't want to move away from that.
Councilor Tilly, Councilor Austin.
Through you, Mayor, to staff, the only thing I'm not seeing, and I just heard from the CAO, was that the bylaw would be checking in with dispatch before and after the shift. Is there tracking through with the GPS or is it all verbal through the radio system?
Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Tilley. The primary means is through the verbal recording of that they're on shift. And if they're going to a site, the recording, because it's then tracked. However, P25 radio systems are also GPS enabled. So there's a fail safe in the portal that the bylaw officer would be wearing.
Councillor Lawson.
You might bring it through you to staff, CEO McNally. With this, excuse me, with the WRPS dispatch system, if we don't have a bylaw officer on duty and a call comes in, does dispatch determine whether the call that comes in is serious enough that they may actually send an officer out? Like, obviously, if it's a firearms or something like that, that's obvious, but I mean, if there's any threat of immediate danger, like something going on in the neighborhood, would the dispatch automatically not just record this and say, you know, we'll think about this tomorrow when somebody's working? If it's deemed, you should have somebody out there, would they send an officer?
So Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Oster. Bylaw services, the WRPS largely moved away from about 10 years ago. The dispatchers will have experience and will be trained to triage calls. If there's an immediate risk of public health and safety, they would escalate it. And what I'm suggesting is, if there's a vicious dog and there's an attack, they would see that as an immediate safety hazard and would dispatch a police officer accordingly if we're not on shift. The other would be if there's a large noise event, and I don't mean someone in the backyard with patio pool and it's a nuisance. I'm talking about if it was a large field party or something like that, whereby its order of magnitude, it's large or it's spilling into a street in a residential setting. If we were actually on shift, given that order of magnitude, we'd be calling for the police service to join us anyway, just because of the volume. But if we're not on shift, once again, they're trained to triage, and they may, based on the information they receive from the caller, escalate and dispatch WRPS accordingly. But as a general rule and statement, if it's a traditional bylaw call and it's not of scale of consequence and we're not on shift, then it will be recorded as an occurrence report and made available to our staff when they are next on shift.
No further questions? Can I have the motion, please, Councillor Rowland?
Moved by myself and by Councillor Tilley that BLE report number 02/2026 be received and the council adopts the bylaw enforcement dispatch agreement with Waterloo Regional Police Service WRPS, the city of Kitchener, the city of Waterloo, and the city of Cambridge included as attachment number 1 to this report, subject to any minor revisions as required by Township legal counsel and or its chief administrative officer, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the bylaw enforcement dispatch agreement with the Waterloo Regional Police Service, subject to provision that the city of Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge also participate in the program.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Next is report number CAO 03/2026 accountability and transparency policy and recruitment hiring policy. Any questions? Seeing none, can I have the motion, please, Councillor Tilley?
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Williams, that CEO report number 04/2026 be received. And that council adopt the accountability and transparency policy and recruitment and hiring policy, including attachments numbers 1 and 2 of this report respectively. And that the clerk division affixes the adoption date and applicable administration policy number for each document.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Now, to the bylaws, please, Councillor Rossman.
By myself, second by Council Rowland, that the following bylaw be read a first and second time. 17.1 bylaw number 3623-26, being bylaw to confirm the proceeding of council on February 23rd, 2026.
All those in favor? Here, thank you. Council Williams, can you hear the bylaw, please?
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Willoughby, the bylaw number 3623-26 be read a third and final time and signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk.
All those in favor? Here, thank you. Councillor Tilly, the adjournment, please.
Moved by myself, second by Council Rowland, that where the business before this council meeting has been completed at 7:20 P.M. and be it resolved that this meeting is adjourned.
All those in favor? Here, thank you.